Hey everyone, it is Monday, September 25th. I haven't done a video in at least 3 or 4 days, and today I think you'll understand why I'm actually indoors rather than doing this on foot. Uh, Last night I went from my part-time job, which is all the way down in Crystal City. Um, for those of you who don't know where that is in DC, you can look it up on a map. And I biked all the way to Vienna, Virginia. And I did this at, let's see, probably around midnight. I stopped and got a bite to eat. And then I started. Uh, so I guess I started maybe a little bit after that, maybe more around 1. And uh, I biked starting at 1 o'clock, and I think I got in somewhere around 3 in the morning. So it was a good 2 hours. Uh, and I've got to tell you, I was aching in places I never thought I could ache. It was pretty gruesome. But I got through the whole thing. It was pitch dark. I had this, and I'll take a picture of this later. I've got this flashlight that I used to use for doing Uber and Lyft driving. I'd take it and I'd point it out the window so that I could see the addresses. Really powerful, like police grade kind of light. And I lashed that onto the bike so I could see something, and it was great because, an ordinary flashlight would not have done the trick. I mean, it's pitch black. There's no lights around on these paths. Um, So I'm kind of glad I just made it in one piece. A, that I didn't get mugged on the trail, and then B, that I made it. I mean, I got all the way up to Vienna, and there was a 7-Eleven, which is not too far from where I'm at. And I stopped at the 7-Eleven, and I got a drink. I can't even remember what the hell I got. And so then I tried to resume. And I was falling off the bike, and I was running into things. It was comic. I just didn't have the juice anymore. So I kind of biked a little, and then I would start walking because I really couldn't bike. So the end was walking. Um, but yeah, so I barely made it. um, just to kind of document stuff. My knees were hurting. Um, my ass was hurting. The seat on my bike is one of those hardcore the plastic seats. And my hands were aching too because, I have the weight of my hands down on the handlebars. And so, that was kind of, really kind of digging into my palms. And then just generally just everywhere, ankles, legs, toes, you name it, was all one world of hurt. Um, so I went to sleep, I guess, around 3, and it's now 7:33 in the morning. And I really wanted to capture this because um, I hadn't put anything online, I guess, in a good 3 or 4 days at least. Um, I just suffered another little burnout. Um, Occasionally I do. Some of that is also due to my mood, which hasn't been helped by stuff here at home. But generally, the trend overall has been, a really good upward one. for those of you who've been following me, I've gone from 300 down to 200. I'm kind of holding at that because I think that like I'm building up muscle mass. So, for those of you who are not familiar with it, muscle is actually heavier than fat. So, kind of in the process of building some muscle, I've actually put some weight back on. I think for a while I was down to about 195, and I just put on some pounds. So, not necessarily a bad thing. That was kind of expected. When you start putting on muscle, then the weight's going to go up, the number is going to go up. And I guess one of the things that I can convey to anybody who's watching this, for various people watch for different purposes, but if you're going through some sort of weight loss or weight problem, then one of the things you might want to take away from this is that if you do start working out and you do start putting on some muscle, or you do weights or anything like that, it's to be expected. It's to be expected that your weight is not going to go down in a direct line. There's going to be some fluctuation to it. And that's directly due to that little equation that I said, which is that, muscle weighs more than fat. So don't be alarmed. It's natural. What else? So I have no idea. Originally, when I started this, I really could not separate very well, personal issues from the political stuff. And I really didn't have something that was personal, but I'm going to try to do that a little bit more, because I know that, I've got some feedback from, some of you guys who are watching who, they really relate to the personal side, of growth. Change and evolve is I used it as a kind of a personal, how shall I say, kind of a standard of, what I was doing to myself, in addition to what I wanted to do politically. But, there's definitely a component of personal change that I've gone through, and something that I wanted to share with other people because I thought it was valuable. Not so much because, I had the answers to anything, but just because, I realized that other people do things in different ways. My cousin, who really inspires me, just watching her videos and her pictures that she puts online, Alexandria Talbot, shout out. It's really amazing what she's been doing, and she's been really, getting, muscular. I haven't done too much of that, but I guess everybody has got their own way of doing what they need to do. And so, I thought it was worthwhile to document at least how I went through my journey, how I approached things, how, I got things done. So, there is no one way. For me, a lot of it had to do with drinking lots of water. It had to do with walking. It had to do with not eating sugar, not eating carbs. And just so you know, when I say not, I'm not referring to anything 100%. Nothing's 100%. Some people will be like, oh, how'd you do that? Well, I didn't do it 100%, and you shouldn't expect that of yourself. There's absolutely no reason to say that, hey, how do I do that 100%? No, nobody does it 100%. What you got to do is you've got to commit to yourself what it is that you're trying to accomplish, whether it's water or, not doing carbs or not doing sugar, just committing yourself to putting it in your mind that those are things that you can't afford for yourself, sugar, bread, stuff like that. And I kind of liken that to something called autosuggestion, which I got from a book called Think and Grow Rich. And autosuggestion is basically where you take a thought and you try to make it your reality by repeating that thought over the course of time. So, for example, I did that with smoking. With smoking, I would take a cigarette, and before I would light it up, I would hold it in my hand, and I would look at it, and I would say things to it. I had a relationship with it. I would say, this is disgusting, it yellows my teeth, it gives me bad breath, the smoke gets on my clothes. So, I put all these kinds of seeds of thought into it. And eventually what happened somewhere around 2011 was that I became so revulsed. One day I went out with some friends. I used to go out with these friends at Arlington House. And we would sit outside on the benches and we would smoke a cigarette. We would talk. And I was outside and I had the cigarette in my hand and I literally could not light it up. This revulsion that I had developed in my brain became reality. So much so that I really could not smoke. Okay, going back to 100%, just to give those of you thinking, oh, wow, 100%, no. So even that, I didn't do 100%. I've probably only had I don't know, 10 cigarettes since I stopped in 2011. So that wasn't 100%, but damn close enough. 10 cigarettes over the course of, what are we now, in 2017? 6 years? Not bad. So that's what autosuggestion is. It's planting the seeds of a thought that you want to cultivate in your mind. And that could go for anything. I did that for cigarettes, but let's take that into something else. That could be the food that you eat. It could be the habits that you have or don't have. Sometimes it's about developing habits. And once you get started on those, it becomes really easy because autosuggestion works its way through your mind. And it habitates your thoughts to the point where it almost becomes second nature to you to follow those thoughts. I'll give you another example, personal, which is water. And with water, that was kind of a journey too. And it started out with going from sodas to diet sodas. And then eventually, I would drink juice once upon a time. But over the last year or two, it's been almost entirely water. And that was, again, another process of seeding the seeds in my mind that I would feel better and I would actually feel the benefits of drinking water. And it's true. If you look at pictures of me now, as opposed to a couple years ago, and granted, some of it's weight loss, but the other part is that, skin-wise, my skin looks like it's in better condition. And all that's water, and just drinking water. So I guess my message for the day, again, sometimes I really don't start these things with any kind of agenda, but auto suggestion can get you to different places you want to go. Actually, this is working out now. So last night it was the bike. I fed my brain the idea that even though Metro, this is how it started. Metro shut down. Our metro system in DC on Sundays shuts down at 10:46. My part-time position finishes at 11. So unfortunately, I couldn't stay till 11 because I would get stuck for the night. So I kind of fed my brain this idea that I would get a bike and I would go to work with the bike. And at the end of my shift, I would bike back to Vienna, which I don't know what the miles is, but it took me 2 hours. So you can figure that it's a pretty damn long trip. And if you look at it on a map, yeah, you'll see. Crystal City to Vienna, Virginia. um, but in any case, the so last night was the first time. I really don't know if I could do that again. That took the living hell out of me. We'll see, but mind over matter. That's the message for today. Mind over matter and auto suggestion. Appreciate you guys tuning in to this mega 16-minute video. And I appreciate your comments, and thank you so much. Bye.